In just 47 seconds, Prince Harry would deliver the most shocking insult ever heard on late-night television, sending Seth Meyers into a rage that would culminate in the Duke of Sussex being forcibly removed from the studio. What started as seemingly cordial banter between host and royal guest exploded into a vicious war of words that exposed Harry's true character and left America's beloved comedian questioning everything he thought he knew about the so-called People's Prince. The tension was palpable from the moment Prince Harry walked onto the Late Night with Seth Meyers set. Gone was the charming, self-deprecating royal America had grown to love. In his place sat a man visibly agitated, his jaw clenched tight as he settled into the guest chair across from Meyers. The studio audience, initially erupting in enthusiastic applause, seemed to sense something was off as their cheers gradually died down to an uncomfortable murmur. Seth, ever the professional, flashed his trademark grin and launched into what should have been light opening remarks. "Prince Harry, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I have to say, you look a bit tense tonight. Everything all right?" Harry's response was ice cold. "Oh, I'm just peachy, Seth. Really loving being here in your little comedy bubble while the real world burns around us." The words dripped with sarcasm, catching Meyers completely off guard. The host's smile faltered for just a moment before he attempted to steer the conversation back to safer waters. "Well, I know you've been incredibly busy with your various charitable endeavors and projects. Tell us about what you've been working on lately." Seth leaned forward slightly, trying to project warmth and genuine interest. But Harry wasn't having it. "Charitable endeavors?" Harry let out a bitter laugh. "You mean the work that actually matters? The stuff that doesn't involve sitting around making jokes about people's pain for cheap laughs?" The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the playful banter they'd come to expect from celebrity interviews. Meyers felt his own temperature rising but maintained his composure. "I think there might be a misunderstanding here, Harry. We've always been supportive of your work, and I've never made light of the causes you champion. Is there something specific that's bothering you tonight? Something specific?" Harry's voice grew louder, his British accent becoming more pronounced as his anger intensified. "How about the fact that you and your writer's room think it's hilarious to mock my family struggles? How about the constant jokes about my wife, my children, our decision to step back from royal duties? You think that's comedy gold, don't you?" The accusation hung heavy in the air. Seth's face flushed red as he processed what he was hearing. "Harry, I need to stop you right there. We have never, and I mean never, made jokes about Meghan or your children. That's completely off limits, and frankly, I'm offended that you would suggest otherwise." "Offended?" Harry scoffed, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're offended? That's rich, coming from someone who built his entire career on tearing down people who are actually trying to make a difference in the world. You sit here night after night, safe in your little studio, making millions while contributing absolutely nothing of value to society." The studio fell dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed frozen in place, unsure whether to continue filming what was rapidly becoming a public relations nightmare. Meyers' hands gripped the edge of his desk, his knuckles white with tension. "I think you need to take a step back here," Seth said, his voice low and controlled but unmistakably angry. "You're way out of line, and frankly, I'm not sure what's gotten into you tonight, but this isn't the Harry I know." "The Harry you know?" Prince Harry stood up abruptly, towering over the desk that separated him from his host. "You don't know me at all, Seth. None of you do. You think because I've been on your show a few times, because I've played along with your little games and laughed at your mediocre jokes, that we're friends? That I actually respect what you do here?" Meyers rose from his chair, matching Harry's aggressive posture. "Okay, that's enough. I don't know what kind of personal issues you're dealing with right now, but you don't get to come on my show and attack me, my staff, or the work we do here. We've treated you with nothing but respect and kindness every single time you've been here." "Respect?" Harry's laugh was harsh and mocking. "Is that what you call it, when you spend your monologue every night taking cheap shots at my grandmother? When you mock the institution that my family has served for centuries? When you reduce everything we've sacrificed and endured to punchlines for your liberal elite audience to giggle at?" The mention of the late Queen Elizabeth struck a nerve with everyone in the room. Several audience members gasped audibly, and Seth's expression darkened considerably. Don't you dare bring your grandmother into this. We have always shown the utmost respect for her late majesty. And you know it. What the hell is wrong with you tonight? But Harry was just getting started, and the venom in his voice was unmistakable as he prepared to cross a line that would change everything. You want to know what's wrong with me, Seth? Harry's voice dropped to a menacing whisper that somehow carried throughout the entire studio. What's wrong is watching parasites like you profit off my family's pain while pretending to be some kind of moral authority. You think your little political rants make you important? You're nothing but a failed SNL writer who got lucky. The insult hit Seth like a physical blow. His face went from red to white in an instant, and for a moment he seemed genuinely speechless. The audience was now completely silent, sensing they were witnessing something that would be talked about for years to come. Security guards near the studio exits shifted nervously, unsure whether to intervene. Failed? Seth's voice was deadly quiet, more dangerous than if he had been shouting. You want to talk about failure, Harry? Let's talk about how you've systematically destroyed every relationship you've ever had. Your father, your brother, hell, even your own country turned their backs on you. And why? Because you're a spoiled, entitled brat who can't handle criticism. Harry's face contorted with rage. How dare you? No. How dare you? Seth exploded, his composure finally cracking completely. You came on my show, in my studio, and decided to attack everything I've worked for my entire career. You think being born into royalty gives you the right to talk down to people who actually earned their success? The confrontation was spiraling completely out of control. Producers in the control room were frantically signaling to cut to commercial, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every venomous word. This was television history in the making, and everyone knew it. Harry stepped closer to Seth's desk, invading his personal space in a move that made several security personnel tense up. Earned your success? You mean kissing ass to network executives and recycling the same tired political jokes that your writers spoon-feed you every night? At least when I was working royal, I was actually helping people instead of just talking about it. Working royal? Seth stood up so fast his chair rolled backward and crashed into the wall behind him. Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looked like you spent most of your time complaining about how hard your privileged life was while living in palaces and having everything handed to you on a silver platter. The studio erupted in shocked gasps. Several audience members were now standing, straining to see what would happen next. The tension was so thick it was almost suffocating, and everyone present could feel they were witnessing something that would fundamentally change both men's public personas forever. Harry's hands clenched into fists at his sides. You have no idea what my life has been like. The scrutiny, the pressure, the constant judgment from people like you who think they know everything about situations they've never experienced. Oh, boo fucking who? Seth shot back, his language becoming increasingly raw as his anger peaked. Poor little prince had to deal with criticism. Welcome to the real world, Harry. The rest of us don't get to run away to California and play victim when things get tough. That was the final straw. Harry's face went completely dark, and when he spoke, his voice was filled with such pure hatred that it sent chills through everyone listening. You know what, Seth? I've had enough of this. You want to know what I really think? I think you're a pathetic, talentless hack who wouldn't last 5 minutes in the real world. Your show is garbage. Your jokes are garbage. And you're nothing but a bitter, jealous little man who resents anyone who's actually accomplished something meaningful with their life. Seth's hands were shaking with rage as he leaned forward across his desk. Accomplish something meaningful? Are you insane? You've spent the last 5 years whining about how unfairly you've been treated while cashing checks from Netflix and Spotify. You've turned your family drama into a goddamn business model, and you have the nerve to lecture me about meaningful accomplishments? The words hung in the air like poison gas, and Harry's response would prove to be the point of absolute no return. His next statement would be so shocking, so personally devastating, that it would end not just the interview, but potentially both of their careers as they knew them. Harry's eyes narrowed to slits as he prepared to deliver what he clearly believed would be the killing blow. You want to talk about cashing checks, Seth? At least I'm not desperately clinging to relevance by kissing up to politicians who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Your wife probably watches my interviews instead of your show because even she knows you're a fucking joke." The studio fell into complete, deathly silence. Seth's face went completely pale, then flushed red with an anger so pure it was almost frightening to witness. Bringing his wife into the attack had crossed every possible line of decency, and everyone in the room knew that something irreversible had just happened. "Get out." Seth's voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the force of a thunderclap. "Get the fuck out of my studio. Right now." But Harry wasn't finished. The power of shocking America's beloved late-night host had gone straight to his head, and he was drunk on the destruction he was causing. "What's the matter, Seth? Truth hurt? Maybe if you spent less time pretending to be some kind of moral crusader and more time actually being a decent husband, you wouldn't be so sensitive about security." Seth's roar cut through Harry's words like a knife. "Get him out of here now!" Within seconds, 2 large security guards were moving toward the guest area. Harry, realizing he had pushed things too far even for his own taste, began backing away from Seth's desk, but the damage was already done. His face showed a flicker of uncertainty for the first time all evening, as if he was just now understanding the magnitude of what he had unleashed. "You can't kick me out," Harry said, his voice lacking its earlier conviction. "I'm still talking. This is live television." "The hell I can't," Seth snarled, moving around his desk with murder in his eyes. "This is my show, in my studio, and you just made the biggest mistake of your entitled fucking life. You think being a prince means you can say whatever you want? Well, welcome to America, asshole, where that shit doesn't fly." The security guards reached Harry just as Seth was closing the distance between them. For a moment, it looked like the host might actually throw a punch, but the guards stepped between the 2 men, their massive frames, creating a barrier that probably saved both of their reputations from complete destruction. "Don't touch me!" Harry snapped at the guards, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity as they firmly but professionally began escorting him toward the exit. "I'll leave on my own. I don't need your hired thugs manhandling me." "You should have thought about that before you decided to attack my family," Seth called after him, his voice still shaking with rage. "You're done, Harry. You hear me? Fucking done. No one in this business will ever work with you again after tonight." As the security guards guided him toward the studio exit, Harry turned back one final time, his face a mask of aristocratic disdain. "This country deserves better than trash like you representing it, Seth. History will remember who was really in the right here. History will remember you as the spoiled brat who threw away every opportunity he was given." Seth shot back. "Now get the hell out of my sight before I have you arrested for trespassing." The studio doors slammed shut behind Harry with a resounding bang that seemed to echo throughout the entire building. The audience sat in stunned silence, many with their mouths hanging open, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Seth stood in the middle of his set, chest heaving, looking like a man who had just survived a war. For several long moments, nobody moved or spoke. The cameras continued rolling, capturing Seth's gradual transition from rage to exhaustion to something approaching bewilderment. Finally, he ran a hand through his hair and turned to face his audience, who were still sitting in shocked silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Seth said, his voice hoarse from shouting but gradually returning to its professional tone. I apologize for what you just witnessed. That was completely unacceptable behavior, and I'm sorry you had to see it." The audience began to stir, and a few people started clapping tentatively, unsure of how to react to the unprecedented situation they had just witnessed. Seth held up a hand to quiet them. "We're going to go to commercial now, and when we come back, we'll have a completely different show for you. Thank you for your patience, and again, I apologize for that display." As the commercial break sign lit up, and the studio audience began buzzing with conversation, Seth slumped into his chair, looking like a man who had just aged 10 years in 10 minutes. The confrontation was over, but the fallout was just beginning. Prince Harry had burned every bridge he had in American entertainment in the span of one disastrous interview, and Seth Meyers had shown a side of himself that no one knew existed. The most explosive late-night television confrontation in history was finally over, leaving both men's reputations forever changed and America wondering what the hell they had just witnessed.